Hey everybody, Ben here from Cinderblock Studios, and today I've got a few tips to help you title your artwork. So I want to start by saying that this video is strictly tips for titles. This is not a how-to. Look, you can title your art however you want to title your art, but I'm hoping that the stuff you learn here will help you distinguish what is a good title and what is a bad title. Alright, so let's first take a look at some of the bad stuff. The first thing to avoid is titles that are just obvious, something like Red Sky or Big Mountain in a Landscape. Or if you're doing a portrait, something like Girl or Friends. These are fine titles, but they're not helpful, and they just state the obvious. If you made a piece of art, in this case we're obviously talking visual art, then the piece itself should tell the viewer these things, the obvious things. So if the title is something that's already obvious in the painting, then your title has failed. Along those same lines though, but on the opposite side of the spectrum, if your title is so ambiguous, it also fails because people are like, okay, this title means absolutely nothing in regards to the rest of the piece. Another thing you might want to avoid are just simple color names. Now this might sound like a good idea at first, calling it something red or radiant red, or barring a tube of a paint color like Indian yellow or ultramarine. This might sound like a good idea at first until you realize that very quickly you're going to run out of color names. This also goes back to the idea of stating the obvious, like, hey, this piece is blue. I'm going to call it blue. It's like, really? I had no idea. Another one that can be really tricky and also falter a lot of your work is series-based titling. Something like Entitled Number 5 or Composition 8. These are actually a couple of famous paintings, and the titles are awful. So a couple more. I do think it's worth noting a couple more famous examples because, again, famous paintings aren't exempt from having bad titles. Something like The Girl with the Pearl Earring. It's like, this piece is incredible. I don't want to bash it in any way, but the title of it is terrible. It's like, what's The Girl with the Pearl Earring? Really? I can see that. Awesome. Tell me something about her. Another one is Monet's Water Lilies. It's like, okay, one, I'm not a Monet fan in general, but I do appreciate his work. But it's like, seriously, calling this Water Lilies? It's like, might as well just call it water. Seriously. Okay, so I'm getting a little defensive here and probably a little bit ranty. So you might be thinking, okay, bad titles aside, what does make a title good? For starters, you want to describe the piece, but not too much. Your title can also be a way to start to tell part of the story that exists in your painting. Additionally, a title could be used to convey some sort of emotion that you're trying to convey with the piece. And like before, we of course have a few interesting examples from art history. First one, American Gothic. This is a great painting all around, and it's also one of those particularly iconic, famous paintings because it's parodied a lot. But a title like American Gothic makes you, it intrigues you. It makes you think, okay, why is it titled this way? You kind of want to do some more research on the painting and on the artist to figure out what the title actually means. So in that case, that's a good title. Another great title, School of Athens. Now, this painting, when I first saw this, and I think rightly so when a lot of people first saw this, they imagine that this is something biblical, it's something scriptural. And then you kind of hear School of Athens, like, okay, wait a minute, what is this? And when you do a little more research on the piece, you realize that this is sort of a gathering of philosophers. Now I could probably go on and on and on and on about this painting, but I'm not going to spare you perhaps an art history lesson for another day. And so for our last piece, I chose the Titans Goblet. Now this one, I would say, okay, it's probably somewhere in the middle. It's not a great title. It's not a super bad one, though, either. If this was just called Goblet, probably be leaning towards the bad side. But Titans Goblet gives you an interesting understanding of what the artist may have been thinking to what this thing is, if it is natural, if it is man-made, if it's mythological. And it kind of really gets your imagination going on exactly what the thing is. But again, all of these things, good titles, bad titles, these are really just my opinion, but they are rooted in a lot of experience. If you gave a bad title to a piece of your artwork, in a gallery setting, it could probably get lost. no one's really going to care. It's going to go up on the wall. No one's going to be paying attention to that title. However, these days, most artists are putting their work online, and a bad title online makes a little bit more of a difference. Most of you watching this are probably watching it directly on YouTube, and as you probably already know, the comments on YouTube can be pretty brutal sometimes. However, offline or online, if your title can intrigue and engage your audience, then that goes well beyond any negativity that you might experience along the way. And with a good title, your work can actually shine beyond some of the work that might be more technically skilled than what you can do. Because a good title will draw people in anywhere online and be like, that is cool. So next time you're searching or researching or trying to get a good title together for your piece of art, maybe look into the symbolism of the thing you created, or just kind of reach inside of yourself emotionally, spiritually, mentally, whatever you happen to do, and just be like, what do I really want to do? What do I really want to tell and convey with this piece of art? And that is going to make a much better title for you. So if you learned something in this video, hit that like button, get subscribed if you're not already, and this has been Cinderblock Studios. See you guys next time.